Schools that incorporate yoga into their program regularly see huge increases in academic test scores. They see reductions, usually to zero, of suspensions and detentions. They see increases in attendance because kids feel better, they're more regulated, they're more in touch with their body needs and how to advocate for themselves. They get excited when I come into their school to teach yoga. Parents will tell me that they're doing it at home. It's very common I hear that they're teaching their younger siblings or their other extended family how to breathe to calm down. Sometimes they're teaching it to their parents if they see they need it. It's definitely something that they will share and really will extend into many, many other areas of their lives besides just when you see them doing the yoga pose or you just see them doing the breathing. It will extend to academics, social situations, and with lifelong healthy choices. So yoga is amazing and kids love it because it's fun.
Welcome back to Mother's Guide Through Autism podcast. I am Bridget Shipman, your host, and today I want to welcome Jennie Abbot. Jennie is an award-winning children's yoga and mindfulness educator. She's also the founder of the Harmony Kids Company. She'll share with us how we can use yoga and mindfulness to foster emotional and physical well-being in our children. So if you are interested in helping your children develop abilities to self-regulate and cultivate inner happiness and peace, then you're going to want to listen to our conversation today. So stay tuned and welcome, Jennie.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I would like to just for our audience to get to know you better with who you are, what you do, and how you got to this particular niche in your life.
Sure, I'd love to share. So I began my career a very long time ago as a children's dance teacher. Lots of experience with supporting children of all abilities to connect with themselves through movement. And then fast forward many years, I had a daughter who was 7 years old and a son who was 2 at the time. And I began kind of thinking about a career change. I had done some business and that type of thing in the corporate world, was really looking for something that was more focused on health and wellness. Having been diagnosed with anxiety myself at 20 years old, I had always been interested in looking at, ways to support wellness for myself. So at that time, I decided I would become a yoga teacher, and I was doing adult yoga teacher training. And during that time frame, my daughter began having terrible, terrible anxiety surrounding school. So she was having trouble sleeping at night. She didn't want to go to school. If we could get her there, she would hyperventilating in the hallway, couldn't go in the classroom. It just became an all-encompassing situation for our family. And so thinking about ways to support her, one of the things, besides looking for a wonderful counselor and all of the things that we did to help through that situation, I started trying to adapt the adult yoga practices that I was learning in my teacher training to support a 7-year-old in those really challenging moments. And in starting to learn to adapt and figure out how, a 7-year-old could do breathing in a way that was engaging and fun for them, I realized, oh, I should be doing this, not teaching adults. I should teach this to kids and other kids. So as challenging as that time was, when I look back on it now, it really was the beginning of something really amazing. My daughter has always been a huge part of this journey. So fast forward a little bit, we found a different school for her that was a better fit and many other supports. And I began volunteering and teaching kids yoga in that school and in a few other schools, and just really working with parents and teachers to develop programming, and also on the side, taking as many children's yoga teacher training programs as I possibly could. So I had took trainings in yoga for children with special needs, trauma-informed yoga for children and youth, mindfulness training of all different types, and really just went as deep as I could to any training I could find as well as getting that experience. So over the course of a year, I volunteered and I just went in, and some of the ideas I had worked great and others really didn't. And teachers and parents and caregivers are wonderful resources for learning what works and what doesn't. And they're very honest and encouraging because we all want our kids to live healthy, successful lives. So we're all on the same team. So that was when the Harmony Kids company basically began. And so that was a little over 10 years ago. So to date, I've taught over 75,000 children across the area that I live in, which is Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, as well as online. I have developed different workshops and educator professional development courses that I deliver globally, as well as locally to our educators here in Vancouver area. And I'm also a partner with the Institute of Child Psychology. So they offer resources for parents and caregivers, educators, and also healthcare professionals. So you have a monthly membership and you have access to a huge array of educational resources. They're very, very high quality, and I highly recommend checking that out. The monthly membership is really reasonable, and they have a global conference as well twice a year, and that is free to attend. So those are some of the things that I've been doing, along with developing some resources for parents and educators to use in the classroom or at home that can bring mindfulness into the everyday with their kids, and just to make it easy for the adult and fun for the child.
Yeah,
So yeah.
wow, 75,000 kids. So what I'm hearing is you have a lot of experience. And I love how you included, teacher and parents into creating what you've done, because I think all the voices is probably, I'm guessing, what made your program so special and
Mhm.
also successful. So in 10 years, wow, congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned your daughter and the anxiety that she experienced that led you to create your children's yoga program. In particular, what mainly was it that led you there? Was it just, yeah, I know you said she had such a hard time getting out of the car. Can you give us just some of the challenges? Because I know that anyone who's listening is going to be able to relate to your story.
Oh boy. It's hard to go back there too, because it's one of those situations when your child is struggling in that way that
Mhm.
it really does affect you as a parent so deeply.
It does.
Because for myself, that journey felt very isolating. And I think that it's wonderful that nowadays there's a lot more conversation about it. My daughter's 19 now, so that was a while ago. But at the time, I felt extremely isolated, lost. I didn't know where to go for support and for, kind of how to handle it. It
Mhm.
wasn't something anyone else in our family had experienced. None of my mom friends had any experience with it at that time. And I really wanted to support my daughter in the right way, but I didn't know what that was. So the challenges we were having were, she said that she was afraid of her teacher. And so she was having a hard time learning because obviously when a child is in that fear state, they are not able to learn. The thinking part of their brain is shut down. And the fear she had was around her teacher being predictably emotional. So her teacher would be fine one moment and then yelling the next. And that unpredictability was extremely unsettling for my daughter. She was afraid of yelling, really needed a very peaceful environment at the age and stage that she was at. So she was having trouble going to school. She couldn't fall asleep at night because she knew school was the next day. So not being able to fall asleep, really agitated at bedtime, unable to relax. In the morning, it was, dragging her heels, not wanting to get ready, saying she didn't want to go, and kind of trying to negotiate that and figure out how to navigate that conversation. It was even just that any of the transitions in the morning were incredibly difficult. So getting her to get dressed, getting her to eat, she wouldn't eat because she was so nervous. Just that was how it affected her. Her appetite was not there. So then you're sending her off for the whole day without any food in her tummy. Getting her to get her shoes on. I remember doing breathing techniques before we put shoes on and coat, because it was like, okay, now this is coming. Now the next step is the car. So it was every step of the getting her from waking up in the morning into the classroom was difficult. But the most difficult one was when we would arrive at school waiting for the door to open, she would start to have like hyperventilation. And that was why my first thought was, okay, she's obviously needing some support with breathing. So I know I'm learning yoga breathing techniques. How can I support her with this? You know, it was for a while, it was having to physically push her into the classroom and kind of try not to run away, but remove myself. And as a parent, that goes against all our instincts. And looking back, I probably would have done some of the things I did differently. But I feel that we get put in these situations and encounter these experiences with our children for us to learn and grow too. And I
Yeah.
learned a lot from it. And I have been able to take what I've learned from that and really extend it to the rest of both of my kids' education and relationships with their teachers. And I've really learned how to advocate for them in ways that are helpful and looking at their teachers as part of we're a team together. And that has really helped my son as well as he's going through his school career. So
Yeah. First of all, thank you for sharing that because I do know it is difficult. My son is now 32, and I can still, out of the blue, get emotional about certain experiences. And so that's why I really appreciate you sharing your story. What I have learned so much, and I think I'm hearing you say this over the years, is that when we share our stories, even though it's uncomfortable, right? Somebody is listening and somebody's going, oh my gosh, I had no idea that my child is experiencing anxiety. That's what it is. Or,
yeah,
it's another layer of something else that's going on.
right.
And it's such an important topic. So I really feel like there's so many experiences as a parent that are so isolating and scary and lonely. So kudos to you for not only helping your kids, but helping the rest of us. So, yay.
Yes. And I should mention that I do have my daughter's permission to share that story. I've shared it many times over the years, and it's very gracious of her to let me share that. But also that, I think as a parent, what I really needed in that moment was just compassion from other people. Not necessarily answers or advice, but just, that is really hard. You're going through that. It's really tough. And I didn't feel that I was getting that at that time from really anyone but our immediate family. Also coming from a place of not understanding.
Yeah.
It's hard. So if you know someone who's in that situation with their child, or you are, it's okay to say, I just need you to say, this is hard and I'm sorry. That can be enough to not feel as alone.
Yeah, because it is absolutely isolating and we all feel so judged, right? I coach a lot of moms, and that is for sure, the commonality that we have is the isolation and
Mhm.
also the just the feeling of judgment. And man, we're all just doing our best, right? So
Oh, exactly. And if you're raising a child from birth to adulthood, there are going to be times that you're not going to know what to do. And
exactly.
there is no shame in that because you've never done this before, you know?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that's an important message too, just to give yourself some grace.
Yes,
So yoga, I just got into yoga later in life, but I think this is so important. So tell us, what are the benefits of yoga for children?
there's so many benefits. My list is so long, you'll probably phase out if I say the whole thing. But the ones that I like to touch on the most, I mean, the biggest one is it develops self-regulation skills. Those are lifelong skills that we all need. And I'm sure, as an adult, you can think of other adults in your life that when they get cut off in traffic, maybe their reaction doesn't seem, proportionate to the situation. Or how all encompassing stress becomes in their lives because of work, or all of those different things. Yoga really helps to develop self-regulation, and the younger kids start practicing, the easier it is. And these are tools that when we teach them at 2, 3, 4 years old, they get right away because they're open to it at that age. They're not thinking about taxes or grocery lists. They're just being, and they're skills they can keep coming back to and coming back to. So a lot of the tools that I figured out and shared with my daughter when she was 7, she still uses now at 19 in university. So self-regulation is the biggest one. So what that means is that we are introducing yoga techniques, breathing techniques, mindfulness activities that allow the child to practice finding their sense of calm in their body and what that feels like. Because the more we practice that, easier we can come back to it. So in those moments of dysregulation, or when they're crying, they're scared, they're really excited, and people are saying to them, calm down, or, anything that we say to children in situations that we need them to be lining up to go outside at school or putting on their coat to get in the car. When we give them those tools for learning self-regulation, they use them and they are so empowered. It's like really, really inspiring, because you'll start to see kids that haven't been able to calm their bodies spontaneously using these tools in situations without having to be told, because it's something they can do. Just like teaching a child how to tie their shoelace so they can tie their shoes independently. It's the same thing. It's okay, what kind of breathing can I do when my body feels angry? And then showing that to them, and they can come back to it. So I'd say for children, self-regulation is the number one benefit of yoga. There's also, obviously, it has tremendous benefits for the brain. It helps with improved attention, concentration, and focus. It develops stronger muscles, balance, coordination. Schools that incorporate yoga into their program regularly see huge increases in academic test scores. They see reductions, usually to zero, of suspensions and detentions. They see increases in attendance because kids feel better, they're more regulated, they're more in touch with their body needs and how to advocate for themselves. So there's so many benefits. I just think it's the greatest thing ever. That's why I teach it. And the best part is kids love it. They get excited when I come into their school to teach yoga. They tell me, parents will tell me that they're doing it at home. It's very common. I hear that they're teaching their younger siblings or their other extended family how to breathe to calm down. Sometimes they're teaching it to their parents if they see they need it. I myself, to be honest, have had my kids say, you should do some ocean breathing right now. So it's definitely something that they will share with their family, their friends, and really will extend into many, many other areas of their lives. Besides just when you see them doing the yoga pose, or you just see them doing the breathing, it will extend to academics, social situations, and with lifelong healthy choices. So yoga is amazing and kids love it because it's fun.
Yes, and I know that there are so many more benefits, as you said at the beginning, and we all know that, but it's different when you can actually see it happening with your kids. But also, like I said, I started later in life. So how are the needs of children and adults different with yoga, or is there a difference?
Yes, there's a huge difference. When we think about adult yoga, you probably picture a class full of adults on yoga mat. You probably imagine it's quiet. You can imagine they'd be really loud. And you would probably think that they're all doing the same thing at the same time. And possibly as we get older, an adult yoga class may be more focused on improving stability and strength and range of motion, those kinds of things. And so as adults, we're focusing more on that. It's a little more, I'll say, serious compared to kids yoga. When you walk into a classroom or, say a gym full of kids doing yoga, it is nothing like you see with adults. So when we are breathing, we're making animal sounds, or at least some fun sounds. We're using props. I have boxes and boxes of props and games and activities that I bring when I deliver a program with kids. So there's one prop in particular that I'm going to talk about today that you create to share with your own child that will start to develop these self-regulation tools that I mentioned before. So kids yoga is very colorful. It's fun. It uses imagination, stories, songs. It's engaging. It's interactive. So we play a lot of games to really build our social emotional learning skills as well. How we interact with other people in different kinds of scenarios. So maybe we play games where there's no talking. So we're learning about nonverbal communication. And there's a lot of wonderful techniques, like I said, that extend outside of our yoga time together. In a nutshell, kids yoga is noisy and fun, and it looks a little bit chaotic. When I'm in front of a class of kids, I feel like I'm watching popcorn popping. That's what it looks like, because they're all interpreting it in their own way. And when you have kids that are neurodiverse or have different learning abilities or physical disabilities, they're all interpreting it differently. And that is what we want, because we want them to start to make those connections in their bodies for what feels good, where to find their sense of calm, where they can develop their spatial awareness, all these things that we would like to support them with, but they're all doing it differently. So compared to an adult yoga class where we're all in unison and it's very peaceful, it is not that. It is kid friendly, fun, and lots of laughing. We have a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds fun, and I can see why kids would love it and how important it is for them to participate. I'm just going to say all kids, right?
Oh,
But
definitely.
yeah, right. But when we're thinking about training in yoga for our neurodiverse or special needs children, how beneficial is it for our kids that are neurodiverse on the spectrum? What can you tell us about that?
In my experience, they are children that love it the most. They come to them, a lot more easily because they instantly recognize how amazing it makes them feel. And they instantly see that it's giving tools that they can use that are going to work and that make them feel good. So kids, particularly kids who are autistic or who have attention deficits, they're the kids that when I finish a series of yoga classes in their school program, will come up to me at the end. They're like, this was my favorite thing ever. How can I keep doing this? Because obviously I can't come every day. And they're the ones that are the most invested in it and that I hear most sharing it the most within their community. So for kids that are neurodiverse, the world can be an overwhelming place. Very often anxiety is connected with that, or just, their nervous systems are really on high alert for a variety of reasons all the time. And that is really tiring, right? That's a very tiring state to be in. It's hard to learn when you're feeling that way. It's hard to sleep. It's hard for our bodies to digest our food. It just really makes being a human in the world, interacting the way that we need to, challenging. So what yoga can do to support those kids is it can help them to find a sense of calm in their body and take them options. So, for some kids that are neurodiverse, they really love sitting still and breathing. For others, they might really need to do superhero yoga poses where they're pretending to fly and they're getting all of that kind of energy that is making life challenging. They're getting it out in a way that isn't hitting a person or throwing something or punching or hurting themselves. Because we all have those big energies inside of us or nervous energies. And yoga is a way to move through the body and out in a way that's healthy and feels good and is accessible too. So we can do these practices, in the car, on the playground, in the classroom, in the desk, in the gym, physically wherever. My own kids really like to practice in their room with a video or that type of thing, so they get to choose what works for them and get to recognize what they need, which are very crucial life skills for kids that are new because they want to be their own advocate. They want to know how to calm themselves or how to, participate. They don't want to be left out. But if they don't have these skills, it just can make navigating that very hard. And also very hard because sometimes we don't have the words to express that we're struggling. So even just coming to the breathing can really be a really nice anchor to come back to. So can I tell a little story about a child that used these tools in a real life situation? I think might be very inspiring.
I would love that. Sure.
So I've been teaching one particular workshop for past 10 years, and it's yoga and mindfulness for self-regulation for children. And I had a group of teachers come through and do this workshop, and one in particular came back and took it again a year later. And at the end of that workshop, she said, I wanted to do this again because I implemented some of the practices the first time I took this. And I have to tell you about the little boy in my class. So she was a preschool teacher and she had a little boy in her class that was 4 years old and he was completely nonverbal. So assuming that he had some autism trait, I don't know if he was diagnosed at the time because where I am in Canada, it's very challenging to get formal diagnosis. He did not communicate verbally. And so understandably, he would get really frustrated in the preschool classroom in various situations. And it was a challenging thing for him and for the teacher. So she said once she learned about breathing, the ocean breathing with a breathing ball, she incorporated that into the classroom. She taught the whole group. And then she set it aside on like a calm down corner area in the classroom. So she said this little boy, she started to notice after he knew how to do that, when he would get frustrated in the middle of an interaction with another child, he would stop himself, he would walk away, go to the calm corner, pick up the breathing ball, practice his ocean breathing. She said sometimes for a while and sometimes quickly. And she said he would like to look out the window when he breathes, something that he enjoyed. And then he would put the breathing ball down and come back and participate again. She said it changed dramatically the way that they were able to interact all as a class community and how empowering for that little boy to be able to have that tool. So these are really wonderful things that I'm excited to share with you because if parents are doing this at home, and it can extend into the classroom, that can really help their school interactions and their ability to learn and be ready to explore this wonderful world with their teachers.
Yeah, I love that story. And so we've got these kids that are frustrated for great reasons, right? With zero tools. And so I love that story because you introduce them. It really does change lives when children can learn how to, at a young age, how exactly what you're talking about. It changed this child's life
Yeah.
and everybody else is around him. So I love that. What a great story. For me, and I shared this with you before we recorded, I live in a rural setting that, yes, we do have more resources and things like that, but so often I would have to travel and find solutions. Now, one of the gifts that COVID did give us was the online classes and ways that we can keep helping our kids, even if we don't have access to you. Obviously, you're in Vancouver. Are there online programs or classes that you can recommend that, in case you can't attend in person?
Mm-hmm. Definitely, I can. First, I have a YouTube channel. It doesn't have a huge amount on it, but I'll tell you about some other online resources I have as well. But I would recommend you check out the YouTube channel. You just go to YouTube and put in Harmony Kids Yoga, as I have two videos in particular that have been very popular with parents. One is breathing technique I was just mentioning that the 4-year-old boy was using. So you don't have to have the prop to be able to do that breathing. You can play the video for your child. So in the video, I am guiding a friend who's a puppet through a challenging time, and I teach them how to use ocean breathing, and then we practice it. So that's something I would recommend that you check out and share with your child and then use regularly so that they can choose to use it in challenging situations. I have another video that is a demonstration of how to make calming jar, and that is another tool that you can make at home. It's very inexpensive to make. Show you in the video step by step how to create it, and then in the video I practice using it. And that tool is great because it's another tool that gives child a visual of what is happening in their brain when they're scared or really angry or really sad, and how we can use our breathing to calm everything down. So I'd recommend that as well. And then even if you don't make calming jar with the video, your child will still be able to follow the steps and they'll be able to use the breathing to help calm, and they'll make a connection back to that. So that's very helpful.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, because I wanted to make sure everybody heard you say Harmony Kids.
Yes.
Is
Harmony
okay.
Kids Yoga. Yes. If you put in Harmony Kids only in YouTube, it's a beautiful children's choir. So you'll
Oh,
find
okay.
wonderful music, but no yoga.
Okay. And so if you put in Harmony Kids Yoga,
Yes.
they'll find you.
Yes. Definitely.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Well, I have kids yoga video series. So there are 4 videos, 4 themed yoga classes in the video series. It's aimed towards children aged 3 to 12, and it's designed to be used at home, in the classroom, wherever you want to use it. It doesn't require any props, and it doesn't even need that much space. But those are the type of classes and the program that I deliver in person, but put into videos so kids can follow along. And I've heard really positive reviews over the years from people using these videos with children, and say how engaging they are and really follow along really well. And they're learning all of these tools that I like to share. So that's another option. You can find that on my website if you go to harmonykidsyoga.com. And that's just in the shop section of the website. So those videos work really well. And then the last one would be looking on YouTube. Cosmic Kids Yoga is excellent for engaging kids' imaginations because she uses a lot of wonderful themes that are really kid friendly. The one thing I would note is it would be great to also encourage your child to practice breathing as follow along with those videos, because they are a bit more interactive and about more of the full component of yoga. So those are a few
Okay.
places that are ways that you can find, easy to follow along yoga programs.
Okay. And what was the name of that second one?
Cosmic Kids.
Cosmic Kids. Okay.
Yeah. And then if you have older, say between 12, 13 years and up, obviously those would be too young for them. There's a wonderful lady on YouTube videos are named Yoga with Adrienne, and are very appropriate for tweens and teens and young adults. If you're looking for more mindfulness focused activities, there is a free app that I highly recommend. And that free app is called Smiling Mind. And if you look on the App Store, you'll see it. It looks like a little brain with a smile on it, and it is pink. And Smiling Mind has different mindfulness techniques, and there are some movement ones in there, and they're broken into different ages. So choose what age is appropriate for your child. Some kids prefer programming that is geared toward younger children, and others like things that are geared toward teenagers, just depending on their like. So those are really accessible. They're nice and short, and they have different mindfulness breathing, mindful sensing activities. Then even let them keep a little score, so it's gives them some positive feedback as well. So Smiling Mind is another really wonderful free resource that I would recommend.
Thank you for all that, because if Joseph were still young, that's exactly what I would want to know. I would want to know, okay, I'm not coming to Vancouver, obviously, so how can I help my child, right?
Yeah,
Great suggestions. I was wondering if there are some simple yoga practices that parents can do at home with their kids on the spectrum. I know they can go to the YouTube channel and find you, but could you just share just a couple of those that they can take away with them from this interview?
definitely. I'll give you two. They're very different. So it gives you some choices and options. The first one is called a shakeout. It's not necessarily a yoga practice, but it is a way to move the negative energy out of our body. And yoga is an energy healing practice. So we can still call it related. And the shakeout is an activity that we can do when our child is in a state of dysregulation. And that can be for anything. It could be they're crying because they're disappointed, they're afraid because they saw something that scared them, they're overwhelmed, and they're just, body's a bit kind of frozen. So the shakeout is just a way to move those challenging feelings out. And all you need to do for the shakeout, if you can play music, that's great. But all you need to do is just shake the body. So kids do really like music if you have your phone handy. And key for any of these practices is we're always showing them to the child first time when they are ready. So we're not introducing them in a moment of upset. As we know, as adults, if you are upset about something going on at work, if someone were to come right up in your face and tell you, wagging their finger, you need to do breathing right now, it would not go well. Kids are the same. Obviously, we have to respect that they know what they need in the moment, but they need to have these tools beforehand. So demonstrating the shakeout when they're in a good space so they can retain what it is, how to do it, and so that the feeling of shaking the body and then coming back to the breathing to calm things down again is familiar, because we don't want to go to something unfamiliar if we're already upset, right? We want to come back. It's coming home or giving yourself a hug or finding your anchor, that place where you can kind of push the reset button. So it's really important to do that ahead of time, and then really honor where your child is. So if they're in a state of dysregulation and you say, do you want to try a shakeout with me? And they say no, then maybe we'll try the other technique I'll show you in a moment. So for the shakeout, what you're going to do is put on music if available, and you're just going to shake one foot, and you're going to shake the other foot, shake one leg, shake the other leg, going all the way up till you are shaking the head. Finish by shaking the whole body. And they can even, when they're shaking, imagine there's water on their hands, they're flinging the water off. So it's like they're shaking off that negative feel, whatever it might be. And once they've shaken the whole body, then you get them to start slowing down, because now we've taken the energy and brought it up and it's come out. And now we need to come back to home base. So after you've done the whole shakeout, you're going to give some self-compression by giving yourself a hug. So you have your child give themselves a hug, wrap their arms around, and even start to sway. That's really calming for our nervous system. Sway a little side to side, and then bring some breathing in. So you can breathe in as you sway to one side, breathe out as you sway to the other side, and you can come back to a breathing practice. They know rainbow breath is a great one for kids like 10 and under or 12 and under. The rainbow breath is we place our hands together in front of our heart. We breathe in and we reach our hands all the way towards the sky, so straight up. My hands are still together. And then when we breathe out, we open our hands, reach our arms out, and we make the shape of a rainbow as we lower our arms back down to our side. And I would repeat that rainbow breathing 2 to 4 times, depending on how agitated they were. And you should start to see their body relaxing, and they're just hopefully feeling better. So the shakeout is a really great tool to use in those tricky moments. And then the other tool that's quite different is a breathing tool. And this breathing tool is really cost effective. It is a little prop, but it's something you can take anywhere. A lot of kids that I know like to use them when they go to sleep at night just to start to unwind. So they keep it beside their bed, but you keep this tool in their backpack, use at school. It could be in their desk if you're a teacher and they take it out and the whole class has a breathing break, or just that child does. It can be in the car. So if your child has trouble with transitions and getting agitated, then a breathing stick in the car can be something handy to grab. And just provides a really nice visual, and it's tactile tool as well. So what the breathing stick is it's 2 pipe cleaners and 8
Pipe
beads.
cleaners.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really fun. So you're going to take 2 pipe cleaners and twist them together to make one stick. So they're twisted together, they look like candy canes. And then once they're twisted together, you're going to curl one end around, and that is so that you can't fall off. So you curl one end around, and it looks kind of like a snail shell. And you're going to put the 8 beads onto your breathing stick and then curl the other end around so that you are not going to fall off. And then the way that we use the breathing stick is we slide the bead from one side to the other using a long inhalation, and then we exhale. So each bead represents one breath, and it's just a really nice way for kids to have something to connect their breath with and something they can see. So they take the first bead, they take a big breath in their nose, like they're smelling something good. Breathe in, and they slide the bead from one side to the other. So number 1, breathe in and slide, and then we breathe out. And then we do number 2, breathe in as we slide it, and we breathe out. And then we keep going. So we're going to breathe, like I said, 8 times as we slide them one by one. So then they end up all on the other end. So the breathing stick is, it's hard to break because it's a pipe cleaner. It's pretty durable. And really all you need is the 2 pipe cleaners and the 8 beads. And again, we're going to make this with the child and practice using it when they're focused and relaxed. And really, I would encourage you to ask them, where do you think you would want to keep your breathing stick that you think you might want to use it? And you would use it in a moment when, it's feeling tough. And let them decide, because they know themselves best, or they might want to have it be in that special place that they can come back. So those are the 2 tools, the Shakeout and the breathing stick, that I would recommend. One is for those really big, tough feelings that we're holding in our body, especially if we know the child tends to, like I said, kick or punch or throw. Shakeout is something that they can do to move that out. And then the breathing stick is more for that calming breathing to come back to just that peaceful anchor.
Yeah, yeah. I love that because, I was a teacher in my other life, and I could just see being able to teach colors through that. What color would you like to use? It's inexpensive. So if something were to happen, super easy to replace. You'd have so much fun with it. So, and just 8 beads. So those are 8 breaths. And so if you are listening to this, and most parents do, please visit our YouTube channel, Mother's Guide Through Autism. So you can actually watch the demonstration with these 2 tools, especially the little pipe things, the sticks are so cute. So you'll want to join us for that. Or I don't know, is this on your website as well with the
Question. Breathing stick isn't. I do have an online course on my website. It's called Mindfulness Matters, and it's how to incorporate mindfulness into home, into everyday life. And it is one of the lessons it's an online video program. It's one of the lessons in there. So I show how to use it and talk about it. So that is also on the Harmony Kids website.
Well, I would totally, had I have known about the breathing stick, I would have done it a long time ago for all the kids I taught, and then also for my kids. Before we go, if you have any words of advice that you would like to share with our listeners.
Yes, I would love for parents to know that, the best way to learn about your child and their unique needs is to help them to become their own self-advocate, to really trust them and find out what they need and work together with them, and also build a team around you. So that might mean you have a compassionate neighbor who just always knows what to say to help you feel less alone. Or it could be your child's teacher, or it could be another teacher in the building that you hope the child will be with one day, or who has been in their class in the past. But really build a team of support around you for yourself and for your child, so that you don't feel isolated and alone, and so that you can really lean on, this team as your child grows. Because I can tell you there will be challenges, but I can also tell you it does get easier because we learn and we have experiences. And if we can, recognize that we're not going to have all the answers all the time, but sometimes things will be clear when we look back. And it's not nice to hear at the time when you're in the trenches, but you can really take a lot from those experiences and they will help you in other parts of your life. But it does get easier as your child grows and they learn to advocate and they learn what they need and how to express themselves, or you learn their cues, or you learn how to pick up on their needs, whether they're nonverbal or things that they're expressing, but you get to know. And life will get easier because they will be able to come to that place and think of yourselves as a team, learning and growing together.
Yes, I love that. Yeah. Thinking as a team because it is a journey and it does get better. It
It
does.
does. And also, let's say comparison is the thief of joy. Every child is unique and every parent-child relationship is unique. So what we see on the playground, is discouraging. And I know that as a parent, it's hard not to, but really just try to find joy in your child in whatever way you can and celebrate their wins, big or small. And that might mean that, it's something that the outside world isn't typical milestone to hit. But for us as parents of neurodivergent children, it is huge. So don't hesitate to celebrate your child.
I love that. Yes. And I agree with every word you just said. Is there anything you want to mention before we go?
I would love to tell you about my new game. So I made a game it's because I noticed that a lot of the resources available to help kids learn to self-regulate with yoga didn't incorporate breathing into their game. So there'd be poses, which are great, but they don't access sympathetic nervous system in the most efficient way if we're not also pairing the poses with the breath. So 6 years ago, I had this idea for this game, which is a yoga mat, yoga pose cards, and a dice. And the dice is a breathing dice. So it has breathing techniques on each side. So they roll the dice and then they turn over whatever yoga pose card it lands near. And then they get to do that pose with a breathing technique. So it's super fun because they're all animal cards. So there's like a funny little frog doing tree pose with knobby little frog knees and knobby elbows. But you might be doing tree pose as a frog, but breathing like a lion or breathing like a bee. So it's really different every time you roll the dice. I tried it out in my own kids yoga classes in my kids yoga studio and made sure that the kids loved it and that it worked and they had fun. And then I've spent the past 5 years, along with my business partner, Nicole from Supported Soul, developing this game. And the reason I paired with Nicole is because her yoga mats are machine washable. And I
Oh,
thought,
nice.
oh my goodness, we have to have things for kids that we can clean because we know.
Yes.
So the mat is machine washable, so is the dice, and the cards are really thick, sturdy material that you can wipe and clean. So I'd love to tell you that I'll be offering your listeners a discount on the game, which is if they put in the code yoga20, that will get them 20% off.
Okay. I'm sorry. Because it went out just for a second. I want to make sure they heard that because they're going to want this, right? Yoga 20.
Yes. When
Okay.
you go
Yoga.
to the Harmony Kids website and see the game, it's called Peaceful Play. Then when you check out, if you put in yoga 20, you'll get 20% off of the game. So the game comes with yoga mat, the dice, and the cards, as I mentioned, but it also comes with infographics that explain how to do every pose and every breathing technique that you can print and put up on the wall, whether it's at home or in the classroom. And it also comes with demonstration videos. So there's videos that show how to do each of the techniques, and they are demonstrated by beautiful children, some of whom are neurodiverse, demonstrating how to do these techniques. So I found in my experience, kids do the best when they watch other kids, real life kids doing these practices so they can see what they look like, not just by an adult who's appearing perfectly serene. So wiggly, happy kids practicing these tools, and they can follow along with videos as well. So that all comes with the game.
Okay. Because I want to make sure we have this all. So first step is they go where?
To the Harmony Kids Yoga website, so harmonykidsyoga.com.
harmonykidsyoga.com. Then if you put in the code yoga20, you get 20% off.
Yes, you'll click on the shop first and find Peaceful Play game. And
Mhm.
then when you check out, you'll get 20.
Okay, and tell us the name of this game again.
It is called Peaceful Play Mindful Movement Game for Kids.
Peaceful play.
Peaceful
I'm
Play.
sure I'm writing this all down because I'm gonna look. Because I have some kids that I think would really benefit from it. So thank you for coming up with this great idea. That is a fun way to get our kids to learn how to, like you said, I think self-regulation is the biggest of what I hear in my coaching experience with parents is that when my child gets dysregulated, I mean, and it gives us stress, right? Because we don't know when that's going to happen. And so having these breathing tools that, and by the way, I would be all for using the breathing stick myself. And
Definitely. We all need to breathe. We all need to practice calm. All of us. Yeah.
exactly. So great. This is awesome. And thank you so much for being on Mother's Guide Through Autism podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's been great.
Absolutely. So if you enjoyed this episode of Mother's Guide Through Autism podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and help Joseph and I spread knowledge, hope, and inspiration. I'll see you in the next episode.